Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, with the Season 3 update, we saw a ton of weapon tuning, especially to the ranged meta with snipers and some of the main rifles. And then we also got a new weapon tuning update about a week after Season 3 that changed things up even more. So today, I wanted to break down the new long-range meta, which weapons you want to be using specifically for those long-range engagements. As we go through it all today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. So let's start first with a couple of new Vanguard guns that I feel like have made their way into the long range meta yet again, just because of some of the nerfs that we saw to weapons like the AK, for instance, and then different range and velocity buffs that we saw to weapons like the STG here. I feel like while this doesn't have the craziest TTK versus some of the other weapons on this list, it has better control, so you're going to land more shots more consistently, and in turn that realistic and practical TTK could be a lot closer than you might think. Now for the STG, pretty standard setup here. MX silencer going for the 760mm barrel, best range, best velocity, best control with that. For the optic, just go with whatever you're comfortable with. For me, that's the 3 to 6 times scope, perfect for those long range fights. For the stock, weighted's gonna make it super easy to use with better control. Also gonna go for hand stop, even more control. A lot of players have been looking at the 50 Gorenko for long range. They're really not all that good. Like, they're good through 40-45 meters, but then the Kurz 60 extended mag here is just the better choice for a faster TTK, so I go for that. Also going for lengthened, gonna pair that with polymer for better control as well. Perk 1, these are all kind of not super ideal. I'll go ahead and run acrobatic though, just for that slightly better mobility, and then also I go ahead and run fully loaded just to maximize that ammo. And you got a pretty solid STG class here, super easy to use, and it will get the job done. Kind of a surprising one, the bar. This one is a very unique weapon. Like, you'd think this would just be an absolute powerhouse, kind of like the Odin. And while it does bring some damage, the TTK hasn't always been phenomenal, but it got a pretty significant long range buff with this last tuning update. So this to me absolutely is one of those top options, especially for Vanguard guns in specific for fighting long range. You could also build this to be a little bit more aggressive for sniper support, although it's kind of awkward for that. It would actually work, surprisingly. Now, first up for the muzzle, I actually go for the recoil booster here just to help out with the TTK a little bit more, get that faster fire rate. For the barrels, you really can't go wrong between 27 or 30. 30 is going to end up giving you better velocity, better control, reduced sway, which is super ideal, whereas 27 is just a little bit better control and a little bit better range. So it just depends. Do you want the better velocity? Do you want some better range? Both offer control. I don't think either are bad choices here. For the optic, 2.5 times, 3 to 6 times, totally comes down to preference. For the stock here, definitely going to go for the Chariot WR, better control, pretty much same deal as weighted over on the STG. Also going for hand stop here yet again. For me, BMG 40 is the way to go. Clouser 30 is just not really enough, and the TTK isn't all that impressive versus the BMG over range, so I don't see a reason to run anything but that. Lengthened and polymer yet again. Perk 1, going for hard scope for the better control off the rip, and then fully loaded here once more. Definitely a different weapon than a lot of these on the list, but honestly it is it's pretty solid for long range. And of course, for Vanguard guns, we got to talk the Automaton as well. I mean, this thing is a laser beam, super easy to use, really solid range now, especially after the latest buff. So like, again, just like the STG, doesn't have the fastest TTK in the world, but because it's just so easy to land shots, it's going to have a solid TTK for pretty much all players versus a weapon where you might miss some more shots. MX silencer to start things off, 600mm barrel for the best control over range, 2.5 times, 3 to 6 times, whatever optic you want to use. For the stock here, going for padded, better control during sustained fire. Once again, going for hand stop, no surprises there. 75 round extended mag for this one. Lengthened, polymer, the deadly duo per usual. Perk 1, going for tight grip. You love to see the better control. Then also fully loaded once more to maximize that ammo. All three great Vanguard rifles right now absolutely fit into the current long range meta. Now let's get the super basic ones out of the way besides Vanguard guns, obviously. We all know Cold War rifles basically all have the same setup, so we're just going to go through one here on the XM4 as the example gun, but obviously this class setup is going to apply to the XM4, the FARA, the C58, the Vargo, and if you still want to use it, the Cold War AK. Obviously the AK is not as good as before. I think at least the Vargo, the XM4, and the FARA are the better choices. C58 is sort of a toss-up depending on your skill level, but like I said, the same setup for all these, so you can just copy and paste it to those other guns. That way we don't have to go over the same setup 4 or 5 different times, right? So obviously we're going for agency, task force, field agent, 60 or 45 depending on the map you're playing, and then also the 3 times optic on there as well. Nothing unique about these setups, but they are the most dominant for long range. Speaking of long range dominance, the AMAX on Caldera, it has the best TTK over range, which is just utterly absurd to say. I'm surprised that an MW weapon is still that good in this current meta, so far removed from MW being the main game. But also at the same time, I love to see it. This gun's so much fun to use. We all know this setup by now though. Monolithic suppressor, Zodiac barrel, 45 round mags, the VLK 3x optic, and then either the tack laser for a better ADS and better stability, or a commando foregrip for just better control all around. Just comes down to your skill level with this weapon and how comfortable you are with it. But yeah, this thing absolutely fries. Another MW gun that easily is in the long range meta right now, the Bruen. Its TTK over range mimics the Bren's. Surprisingly, if you didn't know that, now you do. The thing is just an absolute powerhouse. It is a beast. And it's one of the best metas in Warzone history, let's just face it. So again, MW gun, so the setup's pretty basic. Monolithic suppressor, going for the summit barrel, largest barrel in this case. Also going for the VLK 3x optic. The 60 round mags to make it that AR LMG hybrid. Better movement, better ADS, just makes it more aggressive all around. Then just like on the AMAX, you could go for a commando foregrip, or you could go for something like a tack laser if you want the more aggressive ADS and better stability. Just comes down to how you feel about the gun, but absolutely dominant loadout right now in this current meta. Now, what if I told you we got another MW gun on the list, and it's not the last MW gun today, PKM. It's a little bit slow, it's a little bit heavy, but that does not change the fact that this thing is an absolute laser over long range with a TTK that rivals several other options on this list today. I mean, it brings the punch over range. It's such a fun weapon to use, kind of underrated, honestly. Like, you don't see a ton of players running the PKM, but that doesn't mean it's not an absolute beast, and it really is when it comes down to it. Going for monolithic suppressor here first and foremost, the extended barrel, largest barrel yet again in this case. Going for the VLK 3x optic. You don't need a magazine here, obviously, so I think you can actually double up on under barrels and lasers. Gonna go for the tack laser, and then the super unique snatch grip, which gives you better control and a better ADS, which you never really see out of any other under barrel, so that's super cool there. Like I said, this setup fries over long range. There's really not much else you got to say about it. Then the final MW gun for today, going to be the Ram 7. This thing is a little bit tricky to use. Like, it's really good on keyboard and mouse for players. I know KBM players really enjoy using this. On controller, it can be good. It just feels a little bit different there. It's kind of interesting how it differs from input to input, but the stats stay the same. The thing has a very impressive TTK over range, very aggressive as well, which I love to see. But MW gun again, so the setup's really not all that impressive. Monolithic suppressor, going for the Ranger barrel, the largest barrel in this case. Commando foregrip, 50 round mags, and then also either the blue dot hollow or the VLK 3x optic. VLK is just better for long range in general because that increased zoom, but very consistent weapon here. Absolute beast of a rifle that I'm surprised is still in the meta, but also very happy that it's still in the meta. Then lastly, we got the ZRG. We've talked about this loadout several times over the course of the past couple of days. This to me is the best long range sniper now. I mean, it has insane velocity. It's just solid all around. It can one shot, headshot anywhere. We're going for sound moderator here, combat recon barrel. That gives you the best velocity and a really good ADS as well. 5 milliwatt laser for a better ADS. The 6x optic, the base optic just zooms in too much for my liking. And then also the 5 round mag, because the standard 3 just doesn't really cut it in, you know, trios and quads, but it's still, like I said, the most dominant long range sniper in my opinion. And that being said, that is going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. News, updates, loadouts, tips, you're going to find it all right here. So feel free to subscribe with those notifications turned on. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.